You and a Twitch team would slay at a basketball creator tournament? I mean, it depends. If I'm being honest, like for example, when we were playing against YouTube, we lost to YouTube because of that Michael Reeves catch. We were winning, and then Michael Reeves had that phenomenal catch out of nowhere, and it was over. That Michael Reeves catch was so out of control. It absolutely destroyed. Did you give up balling up rage? No, absolutely not. I'm still down. I think a lot of people forget, and this is something that I've mentioned quite a bit. I'm not like a profoundly athletic person. I'm strong, and I'm good at certain things. But the things I'm good at because I've trained a lot. I've never had anything like I've never had a natural talent for anything in my entire life. So yeah, for my size, I can move a lot better than you would think, because I'm, many people forget, like, I'm fucking 245 pounds. But the place where I'm the most nimble is basketball. Statue. Michael Reeves didn't even realize he caught it. Like a statue. I can't believe he caught that. Like that's when it ended. That's like when the game changed dramatically. Cause like, look, it's 3-2. We have 4 players. They have 3. They have Michael Reeves and Ludd. Or no, not even Ludd. Ludd actually runs in immediately. They have 2 players. It's 4-2. It's 4-2. 4 against 2. It's Team Twitch has 3 wins. Team YouTube has 2 wins. Miskiff fucking lasers Michael. Or Michael tosses one. It's a miss. Dan hits Michael. Miskiff lasers Michael. Michael catches it. Ludwig immediately runs it into chaos while we're literally all going, holy shit. Dan hits Ludd. Michael hits Emily. I hit Michael again. He blocks. He hits me, and I don't know if he actually hit me there. Like I think I dodged it, but it doesn't matter. But that's when it was 4-2, and then there's Sage res their top frag and they sweep. No, I'm saying like that was when we lost. We were doing pretty well other than that. Miz talked about this. Said he caught it on accident. Yeah, Michael Reeves literally didn't know he caught it. He thought he thought he was out. You could see it in his face. He said it. I talked to him afterwards. Like, he literally did not realize he even caught it. Look. Look, he goes, oh, and then he's like, oh my God, I caught it. But yeah, I mean, it's for fun. It's supposed to be balanced. It's supposed to be for fun. And obviously the team that had like the most balanced team where like every player could contribute evenly, which plays a big role, won. Like, if you had, did you know that Will was the banned streamer beforehand? Brother, I drove in with Will. What do you think? I was faking it when I was doing commentary. Like, what? I don't know if you know this, but you know, I am an entertainer. I might not be super entertaining at all the time, but you know, my goal is to be an entertainer. And part of that is misdirection. Yesterday was a lot of fun. I don't even know where this is from. Do you guys have the video? What the fuck was I doing on this? This is such a funny fucking moment. But yeah. You actually did kill it while doing commentary, though? Yeah, well. I wonder how many limbs I had. I want to know. Cause me and Dan were fucking synced up. We were cooking him up a little bit. I had one double, which was good. But none of those are fucking cool enough. None of those are, my limbs were always like catching someone off guard or having them fail to catch. Except for the one double limb in the beginning. And it's like, it sucks. There's none of them are like good enough to post. You know what I mean? There was no like incredible moment like that. But yeah. Caroline was fucking awesome. Caroline was incredible at dodging. Like, it was shocking. Why am I proud of this? Yeah, this wasn't even like a cool moment. This was me just mauling because I got fucking nailed in the leg. Another problem is that the commentators were shitting on you every time, so the consensus to everyone watching is that you're bad. Oh, they were? Yeah, I forget how much, like, commentary adds to that. I mean, yeah, I'm always going to be the fucking butt of the joke. Slime and Nick was hammering on you? My favorite two dodges were you and Caroline during the anthem. Yeah, they were making fun of everybody. I don't think they were just making fun of me. But yeah, you and Caroline during the national anthem. What?
There, oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the...
You just had the most catchable balls, but it makes sense because throwing feels weird if you don't grow up doing it at all. They said you threw like a girl. Oh, that's what they were saying. Because I saw some comments like that. The first game, I threw some fucking heaters, but I was out after that. I don't have good throwing technique. Like, if you haven't played dodgeball, you did a pretty good job for your first time. That was the first time ever playing dodgeball. Height is definitely a unfortunate problem here too. I was thinking it would help if you stood sideways to make yourself a smaller target. Would you ever play it again? Sure. I enjoy doing physical stuff. I mean, I do get upset. We just have to do. We just have to play fucking basketball. That's what we need to do. Song is rolled by a dodgeball. Stop lying. Wait, what? What is this? Oh, this is from the... God, this is like... Dude, I was so big back then. This is like the first time we did like physical shit after being indoors for years, dude. This was a crazy time. Look at this. June 27, 2021. Fiona, that was the first time I ever played dodgeball.
Yeah, why not? Oh, wow. Oh, and Hassan goes down. A painful, powerful shot to the shoulder. He's back in the safety of the shade.
Can't believe y'all had a cage match in the middle of the tournament. You kids play dodgeball in Turkey? No. I was so out of breath back then. That was crazy. Okay, first of all, remember, every one of your favorite streamers is fucking dead now, okay, after yesterday. I woke up this morning at 7 a.m. and I went and I worked out, okay? Just like I worked out the day before and I worked out the day before, okay? Squatted, did some fucking back workout. I actually kind of tweaked my left rotator cuff again, but not from dodgeball, but from before. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's a little bit of pain, but overall, you know, I'm fucking grinding. I'm grinding out here. David Goggins asked, like, someone's got to carry the boats. You know, who's going to carry the boats?
Stance takes an arrow to the knee.
Oh, God, you're old.
Jesus Christ.
Millennial, put him on Facebook. Yeah, that is horrible. Holy shit.
I'm trying my best, guys.
Yeah, that was tough.
When you throw the dodgeball, you should go grip on the ball like a loose hand job to get the fast throw. Not as accurate, but as speed.
That's really messed up.
Can I have the cheeseburgers next for Hassan?
Oh, Austin, is that a dodge? Notice I just kind of dropped it in there. You didn't have to
I
sit
know we're
on
total
it.
assholes.
You didn't have to sit
we
on
just
it.
turn on Hassan.
Oh, feel like a bit of a Trololo performance for Team Chess Boxing. Okay. Where they hit stand.
Miskip was really good, unsurprisingly. He's a typical fucking wrestler. He did his best, but there's not much. He did his best, but there's literally not. There's only so much you can do. He was like the hard carry in that situation, and they targeted him aggressively from the jump. And when they targeted him so aggressively from the fucking jump, it's impossible to dodge as many. It's impossible to dodge so much. You know what I mean? You can only dodge so much. Like, New Fear said, looking like the Nathan Fielder man zone, by the way. Okay, guys, I know you guys all had a day off from streaming, so you had all your fucking memes ready. But goddamn, stop sending me the same shit over and over again. But yeah. Probably the best picture of the event. No, not this one. The one where she's on her knees on the ground with her hands up like that is the best one. SNL's getting canceled for making fun of the campus anti-Semitism brouhaha. No, but I do love the word brouhaha. It should be used more, I think. But yeah, Will played phenomenal. I can't believe Lud stole Will from me. That was really fucked up. Caroline played phenomenal. Everybody played really well. Stop sending me the Hamas joke, please. This was a really good meme as well. Look at this one. This one's funny as fuck. Team Twitch almost had it. I love my favorite Twitch guy mentality is like, yeah, everyone played really well. Everyone did a really good job. We had a great time. And someone has to go like, you suck though. Dude, you sucked. Yeah, dude, I didn't play well. Okay, I was not good. NMP Law played great too. I'm coming to the next OTK game day. I also have never played football though, so I'll definitely get my ass handed to me on that front too. He's mad he wasn't invited. That's a good meme. Anyway. You're built for football? I mean, not fucking flag football. Flag football doesn't require you to, like, actually physically hit someone or take hits. So, no. And neither does dodgeball. I'm not built for any of these fucking sports, okay? Azan can't move at all is not this is not correct. I will take offense to this. You're not. God, I hate fucking couch potatoes on stupid ass fucking Twitch being like, Azan can't move at all. Bitch, for 245 fucking pounds, I move way better than you would expect, okay? Bro, I play baseball high level. Your only issue is that you didn't grow up playing it. You look normal for not throwing since you were a kid. Yeah, I've never played baseball. I've never played dodgeball. I don't know how to throw fucking, like, the only way I know how to throw a ball is shooting it. I've only played basketball. Anyway, which we will eventually do as well. You had serious potential for some heater throws. You just need to work on technique. Your group was so aggressive that a lot of them sank way early. You got to work on finesse, bro. Dude, that is one thing I will say. The only thing that I was, the only pain I was feeling afterwards, I mean, beyond, like, being hit like a fucking Mack truck after, like, I got out of the Uber and I straight up was like, oh my fucking God. I thought I was perfectly fine, right? 5 hours, playing dodgeball for like 3 hours uninterrupted. I thought everything is fine. I'm like, you know, I'm built for this. I play basketball for hours and hours and hours. You know, I work out a lot. And then I fucking sat down. I sat down and I could not get up. I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. It hit me like a fucking Mack truck. But outside of that, the only thing I felt pain in still is like my forearm. Because I think I was just like gripping. Here's your best moment from yesterday.
Oh, that was good.
Okay. Did that feel...
There was hatred in that.
Yeah,
there
right?
was hatred.
He was
Him
mad
and
at the
Cheryl,
ref on that one.
Miskip said, let me do it again. So what can you fall? Oh, that was good.
Okay.
That's it. Me looking thick. Were you happy with how Chad Vice went? I feel like it was S tier content. No, absolutely. It was awesome. But yeah, I'm happy about it overall. I'm happy about the dodgeball tournament overall. I think it was fun. I need to do more collaborations with people. Getting hit by a dodgeball feels like you're getting spanked very hard. No, not at all. These dodgeballs are not normal dodgeballs. They're smaller, and they like they're not rubber. They're made out of like sponge. I should have practiced. I should have practiced at least throwing. I think that was a big mistake for me. That way I could have had some better hits. Can we get another Chavai sooner from a year from now? I'm one of the 3 people who weren't able to ask their question. Yeah. Ludwig and I are actually working on... Oh, this is the best picture from the event, I think. Ludwig and I are working on something as far as basketball goes. Everybody chill out. Yeah, I'm going to watch the Nakey Jakey on Starfield. Bethesda's game design was outdated a decade ago. Phenomenal fucking video. But before we do that, Macy's, do you have a playlist for us or what? Oh, also, here's the new Fear Anset. Little sneak preview. Yeah, it was funny as fuck when Yasuo hit you a second time on the ground. The chat was memeing how it was required by his kick contract. Yeah, you got 3 elims in the first round, which was your team's average. You literally did the average. Hustle. Your fitness and basketball skills made a lot of difference. It was only the ab breaks that hit you the hardest. Oh my God. Fucking, I can't even dodge a ball and I can't even dodge a fucking ad break debate over here. What is happening? Are you happy with the new set? I think it looks much better. The new set, I think, looks much better on camera than I thought it would. So I'm kind of happy with it. At first, I wasn't. At first, I was not. I was like, oh, man, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I feel about the set. But honestly, it's pretty good. It's much better when you are subscribed at the top of the hour, for the record. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. It's great, but the lighting being top down could use work. Yeah. Some of y'all are fucking haters, man. Can my stands be fucking lovers again? What's happening? Every other goddamn streamer has like actual stands that hype them up. Okay? Every single one of my friends has communities that fucking hype them up. I'm the one guy who already has enough haters, dumbasses. Be fucking nice. Oh my God, immediately. Oh, this is like trash days at home. I got it, man. Set kind of mid hustle. Thanks, dude. Never try. Never try. I'm fucking done. I'm done. I'm never trying ever again. Get what you put out. Dev behind controversial shooter the day before shuts down after a massive Steam launch. That's insane. We couldn't hear any audio from the videos on the latest episode, by the way. Wait, really? I wasn't even the one who fucking advocated to change the set. So, you know, maybe if I say that, people will be more understanding. And and will defend it if they know that it's like Will, Austin, and Cutie that wanted a new set, okay, and March. So you're not even shitting on me, you're shitting on them. So maybe you'll fucking say it was a great idea now, but dude, the set is awesome. I think it looks good. I think it looks good. It looks a lot better on camera than I thought it would. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Kaya was classic Kaya, trying to fucking be a part of it, trying to be a part of the content as always. You know, playing a very active role in the content creation process. But I'm happy with it. Maybe since it has the same vibe as Trash Days, Connor will come on over. It does have the same vibes as Trash Days. I didn't really realize that like the purple looks very similar to the Trash Taste set for sure. But I think this is nice. This is like this is a professional fucking set. That's what you guys wanted. That's what you got. You guys wanted a professional set. You got a professional set. You're still fucking complaining. How is everyone going to eat during the podcast now? We might not be able to. We'll see. The chairs definitely are not very comfortable. The couch is not even comfortable. How come you only have the comfy seat out of your co-host? Is not comfy. We will only have a situation where we have 5 people. We won't have like more than 5. I wish I could send y'all some set pieces. I'm an old, so I have some really awesome posters on from peak 90s. I was a nerdy ass goth kid, so I have a ton of amazing stuff I'd love to donate. Oh, you have my Twitch annual recap? Okay, I'll look at it. It's Kitschy. Thank you for the 25. Get the subs. Oh, they made a new Israel-Palestine middle ground video? Oh, my fucking Lord. This is going to kill me. It's going to shock me to my core. I will complain about this motherfucker. All right, we'll do the Twitch recap later. I think we should start with the playlist. We have a lot going on that we need to get to. It's Monday News Day. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. All right? Yeah, this is good meme from Instagram. All right. This is huge. CNN reporter reacts to Jack Smith's Supreme Court request. Jack Smith, special prosecutor, has demanded that the Supreme Court respond to whether or not Trump has any immunity from criminal prosecution for the alleged crimes he committed while in office. This is the first time that the High Court will weigh in on the historic prosecution of the former president. Let's take a look.
Special counsel Jack Smith is asking the Supreme Court to decide whether Donald Trump has immunity from criminal prosecution for alleged crimes he committed while in office. CNN's Paula Reed and Joan Biskupic join me now. Paula.
Why the fuck would he have immunity at all? He's the president. And while we like to claim that we have a democratic process where every man is equal, that's not the case in the way that things are supposed to work. Especially, you know, like the president is kind of like a god, you know? It's just, you have to kind of be like a god. Or at least that's the mentality. And that's what we're looking at right now. Is he above the law? Yeah. No, is Animal Farm, some are created more equal than others? Yeah, all men are equal, except some are more equal than others, you know?
Explain what Jack Smith asked of the Supreme Court exactly.
This is huge. This is the first time the special counsel is going right to the Supreme Court, and he is asking them to decide the question of whether former President Trump is immune from criminal prosecution. Now, this is a question that Trump has been litigating. He lost at the district court level.
I do love this argument because it's basically like, oh, can the president come fuck my virgin wife on the day of our marriage? Can he do that? Is he allowed to do that? Will the president come fuck my virgin wife in the village when on the day of my marriage with her? Maybe. I mean, he's got the right. It's his right. If he wants to do it, he can. You know, we haven't really advanced all that much. We think because we have like iPhones and you know, all of these like amenities and technology and shit that we're like above the idiotic former ways in which we operate. This is awesome. Historia Civilis did a Can Monarchs Commit Crimes 1648 to 1649 video. I thought Nixon kind of changed this. Not really. Did he go to jail? What did he change? Think about it. Yeah, exactly, dude. He was pardoned. That's what I mean. What do you think? It's a continuation of the same process.
He said he intended to appeal, but usually an appeal would at least first go to the Court of Appeals, and then, depending on what happens there, possibly go to the Supreme Court. But the special counsel here is saying, no, just you guys take this up now. Because, yes, this is an interesting constitutional question, but the special counsel is mindful of the calendar. This is all about timing. So here the special counsel is saying, look, we need you to decide this now.
Is this not giving carte blanche? U.S. v. Nixon kind of said the president is not above the law. It would be a dangerous precedent for SCOTUS to basically overrule this. Yeah, like a super precedent, you know. I mean, good thing our Supreme Court of the United States currently has no super precedents that they that have overwhelming favor in the public for decades. Good thing that they've never actually turned around and you know, overruled stuff like that from an incredibly biased perspective. Miss Talk shit talked to you right after the tournament. Misgift Hate Watcher won. Most normal dude. At least he fucking identified himself as like a normal guy. Hello, I'm Misgift Hate Watcher 1. Well, time to move on to my other account, Misgift Hate Watcher 2. We already have rules about prosecuting presidents in office, so the answer is no. He has no immunity. My friend, I don't know how to describe this to you, but like all of this stuff is fake. I don't know how else to talk about it. Like, constitutional law for the most part is an entire fucking field that is dedicated to like normalizing reactionary psychopathic ideas under the auspices of like some kind of intelligent analysis, some kind of critical thinking. The entire purpose of like of strict textualists and their like legal constitutional analysis is a way for those guys to be able to just like drink cocktails with the liberal intelligentsia and act like they simply have an intellectual disagreement, and not one that is just a reactionary, incredibly biased, conservative agenda that they're advancing. That's where this comes from. It's just, it's silly. It's made up. It's made up. Here, I'll use smaller words for you. Right-wing Supreme Court justices and their analysis of the Constitution is not a real interpretation, is not a real disagreement. It's simply them pointing to the, trying to find something in the text that goes, no, the founding fathers would agree with me. Okay? But it's not actually something that the founding fathers would agree with them on. It's just simply stating whatever the biased conservative argument they have, and then looking for a supposedly intellectual and operating in an intellectual framework. a framework that didn't necessarily exist all that long ago. Okay, it is, yeah, a good word would be a veneer, I guess, but that's a big word too. I like to say the intellectual patina, but it's not. They're just looking at it and going, I don't think women should have bodily autonomy. I can't just straight up say that, so I have to make it seem like that. You are correct. For example, the Rahimi case coming up in SCOTUS term asked the question of whether someone convicted of domestic violence can purchase a firearm. There's nothing in the nation's history or tradition that allows such a person to get a firearm, yet we know exactly how the case is going to go. Exactly. And there are so many circumstances where the heavily right-wing, supermajority right-wing Supreme Court has no real interpretation, no real strict originalist argument to make, or no strict like textualist argument to make. And we already know exactly which way they're going to decide. And we have to sit around and play this song and dance as though like, no, you don't understand. They're really brilliant. They've read a lot of books. They've read a lot of books on the law, and they have this well-defined worldview, and that's why they are deciding in this way. You simply do not understand. Okay? You simply do not understand. These 9 appointed lifetime position Supreme Court justices are too brilliant, and you can't comprehend it. They're simply, you mean to tell me that they're simply operating on their own personal individual biases? Like, you're telling me that they're just literally going, I'm right wing. What's the right wing position on this? Boom. That's it. No way. No fucking way. No shot. Get out of here. Except that is precisely what's going on. Everything else is just bullshit. There are, of course, the supposed moderate conservative factions within the Supreme Court that, for example, care about the institution and maintaining the institution's sanctity, okay? And those guys are sometimes going to throw a bone in the other direction. Even Brett Kavanaugh from time to time might throw you a bone and have you shocked and go, oh, well, you see, these guys maybe aren't doing that. Maybe they are actually legitimately assessing all of these situations. This is bullshit. It's just another way to keep up that facade. That's it. Roe v. Wade should have made everybody understand the truth. Okay? It should have made every single person realize, like, oh, these guys are fucking clown asses. One of the most favored Supreme Court justices, like a legendary Supreme Court justice in contemporary American history, is Antonin Scalia. Should never allow an Italian on the Supreme Court or in a position of power, is what I say always. And Antonin Scalia, of course, is not an exception to the rule. He's just a continuation of said rule. Antonin Scalia has had some of my favorite opinions. He has opined, like when he said torture is permissible, by citing the television show 24 as his reasoning as to why torture is actually permissible, because in the television show 24, the hero tortures a terrorist to figure out if a nuke is going to wipe out America or not. And that's why we should keep torturing terrorists. That's a real thing he wrote. Doesn't end there. Antonin Scalia was, of course, obviously anti-gay marriage and said incredibly reactionary things like the homosexual agenda. That was one of my first instances in college when I was learning constitutional law, when I found out that Antonin Scalia made the slippery slope argument against gay marriage, saying, well, what's to stop man from marrying dog? If man can marry man, then what if man marry dog? When he said that, I was like, oh, this is all bullshit. That was literally, I think I was like sophomore, maybe junior in college. I don't remember when I took the constitutional law class, but I was like, that's when it lasered me. Like in my brain, I still remember that moment. I had a dyslexic constitutional law professor who couldn't write, but whatever. He was fine. When I found that out, I was like, oh, this is bullshit. This is all bullshit. So Antonin Scalia is a well-respected legal scholar, right? In the eyes of the bold, brave, beautiful, smart, liberal thinkers. I mean, he's well-respected. Anyway. Famously took Clarence under his wing. They were besties. Didn't Scalia die on one of those hunting trips? Yes, he did. Same argument stands for abortion. The right-wing justices said that abortion is a fundamental right, was not deeply rooted in his nation's history and tradition. Meanwhile, there's literal evidence that Ben Franklin wrote about books. Yep, I've talked about all this. Benjamin Franklin wrote a math book, or like a all-intensive, like all-purpose book, in which he talked about at-home remedies for abortion, like how to fucking do an abortion at home. That's how fucking little they gave a shit, okay? How to do an abortion. That's how little abortion was like a thing. People were like, yeah, fuck yeah, of course you're going to have an abortion. What do you mean? So the idea that like these guys legitimately were following through on what our forefathers or founding fathers actually wanted to do is really stupid, because not to pull an Austin show, but the Constitution is a living, breathing fucking document. If that wasn't the case, then there would be no amendments to the Constitution or no way to amend the Constitution. It's so stupid. The very reason why the Supreme Court exists defeats, in the most reductive terms, the arguments that these fucking right-wingers make about it. There would be no reason to, there would be nothing. There would be no reason for a Supreme Court to exist at all. Yeah, judicial review literally exists for this reason. But of course, the United States of America is ostensibly a secular nation, even though it's not really. And the one fundamental thing that you have to remind yourself all the time is that America's religion is capitalism. Okay? And yes, our Bible is the Constitution, 100%. The way we treat the Constitution is like akin to the fucking Bible. Law tip: mere factual innocence is no reason not to carry out a death sentence properly reached. Tony Scalia. Also, he cited the Bible and dissent once law. Yeah. I love that. I fucking love that, because like it's just our Supreme Court justices love executing black and brown people with intellectual disabilities. Like that's their favored pastime. They will never stop that. That's part of the job. They're like literally, oh, I get to fucking fly around with a rich billionaire that I'm partnered up with by the Federalist Society. Sure, fine. How many black people do I get to kill? How many Down syndrome black people do I get to fucking execute? Like straight up. So consistently. You think I'm crazy, you hit a but like it quite literally is a one of the most principled, consistent positions of the fucking Supreme Court of the United States. Is to always side with the state in its endless endeavor to engage in capital punishment on intellectually disabled black and brown people in prison. I'm so surprised that these things you say about conservatives don't get clipped out of context and people aren't trying to say you think those things. They do. Sometimes they do. All right. Let's continue.
So that this case can go on as planned in March. In fact, they're also saying that, look, even if you don't want to take this question up, if you don't want to skip the Court of Appeals, can you at least tell the Court of Appeals to do this quickly? Because, Dana, if a question like this goes through the normal channels, it can take months, possibly well over a year to decide this, which could push that trial until after the election.
Joan, how likely is it, based on your experience in covering the court, that they will say yes to short-circuiting the process?
Well, what Jack Smith has done with his team is to point up a very important precedent, taking us all back to the summer of 1974 and the Watergate era and the tapes case. And what Jack Smith is saying here is that this court was able to handle that kind of urgent question back in 1974, heard arguments. I think they got the petition in the summer, June, July. They heard arguments roughly July 9th, if I'm remembering right, and they issued an opinion on July 24th. This was all in a matter of days, and we know what the consequence there was. The court said unanimously that Richard Nixon did not have absolute privilege to withhold those tapes. This kind of question is exactly of that magnitude now. And what they're saying is, today is what, the 11th? They're saying if get the response from the other side, from the Trump team, by December 18th, and we will waive a longer response period ourselves to get this all on the calendar as soon as possible. And the justices actually could do it. They have space in their calendar to do this. It's not, we don't have the kind of term we had 2 years ago. They don't have yet a big abortion case pending. They could pick one up this Wednesday, actually, the abortion medication case. But what Jack Smith has tried to do here is say, whatever else you have, this is so important. It involves obviously things stemming from January 6th, the imminence of the trial coming, and the need for the Supreme Court to step in and resolve this immunity question is so important.
Yeah, what you just said is well, all of what you both said is very important, but the precedent, the fact that Jack Smith is pointing to Watergate.
Yeah.
And not only is that critical for president, it also reminds all of us how, to use your word, huge this is and would be when it comes to the
Hasanabi says, here's how I see this going. SCOTUS distinguishes this from Nixon and holds that the president is immune from any federal prosecution for actions during their time in office. It's distinguished from Nixon because Nixon only applies to civil proceedings. Very worrying. But that doesn't... I mean, that means the president can do federal crimes while in office, which is insane. Which, I mean, I guess technically the president does do federal crimes while he's in office. Let's be fucking real. They already do that. But it's like wild to just be like, no, it's totally valid. You can do it, King. You have the go-ahead. I don't know.
The ability or inability to prosecute a former president and whether or not he would be immune.
What do you think, Elliot?
No, look, they can do it, and the Supreme Court can grant this. And as Paul had said, they have the clock on their minds here. And look, everybody knew that this was eventually going to make it to the Supreme Court in one way or another. Now, the normal course of action would be to go to the appeals court. That could take months and months, and they'd ultimately draft a decision there, and then which would be appealed to the Supreme Court. Parties are allowed to go straight to the Supreme Court. This is an important constitutional question. It's never been resolved, and that has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It is just a...
I mean, I feel like Jack Smith's a pretty smart guy and plays by the book. So I feel like if he didn't have at least some semblance of confidence that this would not, that like he probably looks at the Supreme Court, recognizes that it's a very political decision here. I assume he thinks that at a time when the Supreme Court is historically unpopular, more unpopular than ever, right? I think. Actually, I would have to look this up. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the Supreme Court is. I know the Supreme Court was very unpopular immediately after the Roe v. Wade decision, but I would suspect that, considering what the Supreme Court's decisions have looked like over the course of the past couple of months, where like every now and then they throw a bone in the other direction, they're certainly scared of the way they're being viewed, right? They already handed like somewhat of a dub to the Democratic Party by acting out the 35-year, 40-year agenda of the Federalist Society against the will of the majority, the overwhelming majority. The overwhelming majority opinion that the last 2 Supreme Court justices that were appointed straight up, or 3, the last 3 Supreme Court justices that were appointed straight up said they would never overturn because it's a super president. On the record, they said this. And then what did they do? They immediately overturned it. So that was a major blow to the confidence that people have within this institution, which they should. They should not be confident in this institution. I don't believe that this is a real institution that cares about the humanity of people, or not Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm talking about the 3 Trump appointees. They did not give Republicans a dub. Politically speaking, that decision was deeply unpopular. That position was that decision was so unimaginably unpopular that it led Joe Biden in a relatively hollow defeat in the midterms when it was supposed to be a devastating red tide. It's also changed the dynamic of the American voting demographics. Joe Brandon is killing it with white voters now. Just eviscerating the remaining college-educated Republican voting bloc. Just completely fucking destroying it for the Republican Party. Now, of course, Joe Biden is also very old and deeply unpopular due to how old he is. Let's be real. It's mostly because of how old he is, okay? However, like I said, views of the Supreme Court, according to this Gallup poll from September 29th, is near record lows. 41% approve the Supreme Court jobs performance, close to 40% record low. 49 have trust and confidence in the Supreme Court, near 47 historical low. 39% say the high court is too conservative. 42% say it's about right, and 17% say it's too liberal. I hate this country. The fact that it still says 42% still say it's about right is mind-numbing to me. God, America is such a conservative, reactionary shithole. Holy fuck. It really makes you think when you look at, like, Israel and their public polling, and, like, you think to yourself, how could they be so right-wing? And then you realize, oh, shit, we are just like Israel for real. Israel is just like us, as a matter of fact. When you have a nation state that does not address its former scars, and you increasingly go right-wing, you know, it's going to continue being that way. We're going to get more and more right-wing. The public's opinion is going to be more and more right-wing. Hasanabi says, I think Jack Smith is backed into a corner. Trump will raise this regardless, and it would go through all the appeals process and would gradually get to SCOTUS. That would push the trial away past January 2025 for sure. I think this is the only way Jack Smith makes sure that these trials possibly end before the election. Trump knows the only way he gets out of this is if he pardons himself. This just speeds up the process. I mean, this would be a ginormous dub handed off to the Trump presidential campaign. Not letting this play out in the courts when there's a mountain of evidence as to the shit that Donald Trump did, by simply just going, yeah, no, he has immunity in this time frame, so he can do whatever fucking federal crimes he wants to, when there is so much evidence, like an unimaginable amount of evidence. When all of that is said and done, and the Supreme Court, which is incredibly biased in favor of Donald Trump, goes, yeah, no, he is the God King, actually. When you're the president, they let you do it. It's just crazy. I think the Supreme Court kicks this can so that this does play out in the courts.
Complex question. It has to go to the Supreme Court. who knows what they're going to do with it. They may, as Paul said, they may kick it back down to the appeals court and either say expedite it or simply just answer first this question of immunity. There's other claims that Trump's team is raising, but the immunity one, is he immune from prosecution, is really the big one that has to be resolved pretty soon.
The reality is these are majority conservative justices, several appointed by Trump. I mean, the reality is they could say, yeah, he has immunity. You can't move forward with this case.
They could, but even before you get there, the very question of whether the Supreme Court takes this kind of case on is itself an open question. The court has been, since 2019, far more frequently granting these emergency requests to go straight to them. Now, that may be a function of the justices who are on the court, or something's changed in their heads. We don't know because we're never in that room. But they've been doing it more frequently. They might do it now, and we just have to wait and see pretty quickly how they're going to resolve it.
Yeah, and just reading through the filing that just came in this afternoon, the special counsel is arguing nothing could be more vital to our democracy than that a president who abuses the electoral system to remain in office is held accountable for criminal conduct. I know that
I like to place this under, like, this is even too offensive for liberals category, right? Like, because liberals put up with a lot of shit. They put up with a lot of shit. They don't really care if the country is, like, more reactionary. Ultimately, they care about it because they make the mental calculus that, like, will we have another Democratic reign in which, you know, we get to hurt the Republicans a little bit. We don't really care. They're very cynical about a lot of things. But this is, in many instances, a bridge too far until the media, of course, until the decisions come, and then the media has to play the role of normalizing this decision because that's their job. That's their role. Their role is to look at all of the fucking psychotic shit that you experience, try to push against it, and then once the decision, when it's all said and done and the decision takes place, then they normalize it by being like, well, you know, maybe it's just fine. They have to spin it. But until that moment comes, they are going to say that this is completely offensive and unacceptable because it destroys the norms that you are supposedly defending. Ban me from this moron's chat. No, you're going to stay.
this is just coming out, Kristen, but are you hearing anything from the Trump camp?
They haven't responded yet, but I do think that we should pay attention to, as Elliot said, looking at the timeline. And that's really what it is about for the Trump people as well. When I talk to them about when this trial is going to happen, they do believe that the March trial is going to happen before the election, that of course being the special counsel's investigation into his overturning or attempting to overturn the 2020 election. But they do still think there is some wiggle room because of the fact that this was going to the appeals court, because of the fact that they believe that they can delay it. I mean, they are going to try and do every single thing they possibly can to push this past the election because they think that Donald Trump can win the election and he's not sitting in trial every single day.
Yeah, I wonder why they think that. Oh man.
So that is very interesting in this to me, the fact that they have clearly kind of called them on their game and said, okay, you're waiting here, you push this to the appeals court, now we're just going to get it over with. So that takes one element out. One of the things that actually Trump and his team were relying on, having this be a lengthy process.
And there's a little bit of gamesmanship there because the Trump team could have appealed to a three-judge panel of the Court of Appeals. If they didn't get a decision they liked there, they could have then appealed it to the full Court of Appeals. And then if they didn't like the decision there, they could have then taken it to the Supreme Court. Even under the best of circumstances for the Trump team, that could have taken months. And I think, like you said, it's calling the bluff. Yeah. Now, again, the Supreme Court doesn't have to agree to it, as we know, but this was a very aggressive step by the prosecutors to move this case along.
It's huge because really the Trump legal strategy boils down to delay, delay, delay. And there was a hope that this constitutional question, which has never been decided before, would take a little while to get through the appellate process, possibly even go en banc, then go to the Supreme Court. And they hope that it could at least delay this trial, which has a ripple effect on other criminal trials, until after the election. So it's clear the special counsel is like, nope, we're going to try this option. This is aggressive. This is the first time they've gone to the Supreme Court. Now the question is whether the Supreme Court wants to do this, if they want to completely reject the request or meet them halfway and maybe just say to the appellate court, look, we all know time is of the essence here. There is a public interest. Let's move it along. Let's not sit on this one for a year.
How long, so just timeline-wise, when can we expect to hear from the Supreme Court?
I mean, it's the Supreme Court. They kind of do what they do when they want to do it. So I would expect that they...
It's really cool that they also it's really cool that they also literally are just like very openly corrupt, and they just put out like a press briefer talking about their ethics and their code of conduct. And it was just basically like, nothing is changing. We are going to get wined and dined by whatever billionaire we want to. Suck my dick. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Will, no, my body does not feel like a bag of broken glass. I would say that, I mean, I do have some issues for sure, but I still worked out this morning. You know, I sucked it up, and I took some Advil, and I worked through it. But going back to the issue at hand, it's cool. It's cool that they're not even trying to make it seem like they're impartial or not compromised. They're very compromised, and they're very open about it, and it doesn't really matter as long as you have enough money.
They too were probably mindful of the timeline here, so I would expect we'll hear from this soon, but they don't have a deadline.
Yeah. And it's just a reminder, right, of the collision between these legal cases and the fact that Trump is running for president, and we're in the lead up to the Iowa caucuses, right? And just today, he was going to testify and then pulled out last minute.
Pulls out last minute, doesn't show up. You know, looks like, okay, this case is wrapping up, but that doesn't mean his legal problems are wrapping up. They're really just ramping up. And that's happening at the same time that his campaign is ramping up. And you look at the schedule for January with both the Iowa caucuses as well as New Hampshire primary, and he's going to be on the road a lot.
They keep showing this over and over again, which is like, hey guys, by the way, once January starts, you know, you got the debate, the CNN debate, the Iowa debate on CNN. And then the Iowa caucuses start on the 15th of January. By the way, 2024, it's Jover. I mean, we're going right dick first into this shit, okay? And then you have the New Hampshire debate on the 18th, where Chris Christie's going to make big moves, big money moves, okay? We're pulling for him. We're pulling for Chris. And then the CNN New Hampshire debate is on the 21st of January. And then the New Hampshire GOP primary is on the 23rd. Yeah, is beginning. The end. The beginning of the end.
A lot more. He has to be in many of these states. We know that he is looking at New Hampshire. He sees the field there. They are not feeling as confident as they feel in Iowa. So he has to be traveling. Well, when they're trying to plan, it's actually been very difficult, according to the people around him, because they can't plan that far ahead. Even if they think that they know the dates of the hearing in March that's going to be here in D.C., they don't think they're set in stone because of these various legal maneuverings that his lawyers are doing to try and get those dates delayed.
And, you know, I think a lot of folks don't realize that these are two completely different government systems that exist independently of each other. And yes, we have these elections every 4 years, but it's not, many judges regard it as not their responsibility to time their proceedings to accommodate other things in government like elections and so on. And they take a long time to get to trial sometimes.
And we've seen that argument. We've seen that argument that judges shouldn't have to worry about the election, but that's exactly what Donald Trump wants to do. He wants to tie the politics to the legal, to say, look, they're taking this up because they want to rule against me. And he's going to use that politically.
And you guys just had that graphic up with just the month of January and how busy it is with different campaign events. The idea of adding potentially oral arguments at the Supreme Court, even in the middle of January, on this central issue that would really decide whether he goes to trial before or after the election. Again, a massive development.
It absolutely is. Thank you for helping us better understand what this means. Thank you. Paula Reed, Kristen Holmes, Elliot Williams.
With the latest now on Donald Trump on the campaign trail over the weekend, defending comments he made about wanting to be a dictator on his first day in office, if he's reelected. Chief Washington correspondent John Carl tracking the campaign. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. Now, some of his supporters say he is just joking, but Donald Trump is outright embracing the warnings that a second Trump presidential term could turn America into a dictatorship, and he's using those warnings to rally his supporters as he calls for retribution against his enemies. Over the weekend, Donald Trump once again said he wants to be a dictator, but only on his first day in office.
You know why I wanted to be a dictator? Because I want a wall, right? I want a wall.
That's it, dude. I mean, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he say it?
And I want to drill, drill, drill.
He's like, come on, I want to do all the good things. That's why let me be it.
Some of Trump's Republican supporters have dismissed the comments as a joke, but Trump went on to promise to use the power of the presidency to go after his political opponents, including threatening prosecution, saying it is justified because he now faces multiple indictments.
They've opened up a Pandora's box, and I only can say to Joe is be very careful what you wish for.
As Trump allies outlined specific plans for retribution in a second Trump term, one Trump ally recently saying journalists will be targeted too, the Trump campaign has pushed back, saying no proposal should be considered official unless it comes directly from Trump or his campaign. As Trump builds his campaign around calls for retribution and revenge, former Republican Congresswoman...
I do think that is... I guess it's one angle that he could take. When you think about it, like, he no longer has the outsider layup, right? In the past, he could have just claimed that he's an outsider, right? Like in 2016, he was the guy who was uncorrupted by politics. Okay? And that was pretty good. He went up against Hillary Clinton, who was the most corrupt figurehead, right? Of like American elitism and institutional rot. Donald Trump, on the other hand, can't do that this time around because he was the president. He was the president for 4 years. And we all know what that looked like. So much so that the American population decided, oh, yeah, we don't want that. We actually don't want that. We want something else. We will vote for a carcass. We will put a carcass, a hollowed out shell of a man by the name of Joe Brandon in the interest of stability. That's what they said. Now, obviously, there were some factors that for some reason, everybody always fucking acts like was not a big deal. This is my designated Hasanabi Piker analysis that I brought up at that time, and I've talked about it over and over again. And I've seen some people say that this was not that significant. This was not a big mover or a shaker, but I've talked about how Donald Trump got COVID right before the election. Something that we've memory hold for some weird reason. Okay? That was a major reminder for every single person that, like, COVID can fucking kill you. COVID can actually ruin you. And that, you know, Donald Trump is not taking the necessary precautions for the American public. That swayed a lot of voters last second, in my opinion. It definitely gave a major layup to Brandon. It was a big Hail Mary. Why am I bringing that Hail Mary up? Because the election wasn't that far. Like, Brandon won in the margins. So any amount of, like, massaging the numbers in either direction was going to contribute dramatically. Remember the other day you said everyone has a delusion? This is yours. See, look. I think that played a big role in reassessing how big of a deal COVID was at a time when people were not really thinking about COVID that much. Or they were thinking about it, they were living through it, but it really just like made the media cycle hyper-focus on it. Why are you calling him Brandon? Is that funny? Yes, it is. So, for me, I think that played a role, and the only reason why I'm mentioning that is because in the absence of that Hail Mary, who knows? Who knows how the election would have looked? Obviously, it was still slated in Joe Biden's favor, but it could have been even closer than that. Okay? I'm not saying that's the single most important thing that happened. I'm simply stating that the election could have even been closer. And it's supposed to be a blowout. Right? You have the stability candidate. He's supposed to blow Donald Trump's back out. Now, we've moved far beyond COVID at this point. In the minds of the American consciousness, we've moved beyond COVID. Like, for the average American, COVID doesn't matter. COVID is still around, but people don't care about it, right? They don't think about it. The media doesn't even cover it at all. And even if they do, more and more of the normal crowd has a negative reaction to that sort of coverage at all. People don't want to think about COVID. This is something that I have actually factored into my analysis when talking about Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis' bona fides are that he was like a anti-COVID governor, kept Florida open, kept commerce flowing. That was a big deal. But that is all he had. Beyond that, he's just Trump. He's proto-Trump with not enough riz. So when he tries to remind people of COVID, everybody goes, ooh, boo, shut up. Don't talk about that. We don't want to even think about that. Sure, we get it. You fucking kept it open. You kept Florida open. That's fine. Shut the fuck up now. I don't even want to think about that. Which is why you see him mention that less and less. Because the only association that people have with COVID, no matter how well they made off, for example, is negative feelings. They remember it with, not such fond opinions. So anyone that reminds them of that, whether it be to say, look at how how great my COVID policy was, or look at how shitty my COVID policy was, people just remember, oh, COVID was shitty. So that's something important to make note of here. So now that you have no COVID equation, and Trump has the almost Joe Biden style approach to the issue of the economy, where he can just say, remember when you had real negative wages for like a year and a half? And he's not going to use those terms, but he'll just say, remember, look at how bad things are. Look at how bad the economy is. He can just keep hammering that over and over again in the same way that Joe Biden could do that with Trump's COVID economy. So, yeah, like he will say, don't you remember $2 gas, but Chuz don't remember COVID when he talks about that? Yeah, exactly. But even when he does that, he's never going to bring up COVID in general. He'll stray away from that. So ultimately, Joe Biden's chances were going to be bad regardless, at a time when the Democratic Party is actually following through on some of the more popular agenda items. Except, given how the economy takes a while to recover and an even longer time frame for people to recognize that recovery, it was always going to be difficult for a one-term president to take advantage of the agenda items that actually help the economy recover. Because right now, the reality is the economy is recovering. There's a lot of back and forth on Twitter on this. People go, oh, why are you talking about graphs and stats? Why are you talking about this and that? People are still suffering. It's like, yeah, people were suffering in 2019. People were suffering in 2016. People will always continue suffering. The economy wasn't great across the board for the majority of Americans. But if you're looking at the feelings that people have on the economy, that takes a while. That takes a while for people to look at and go, you know what? Actually, my situation is much better. So, overall, Trump has a lot of opportunity here to hammer Biden on Bidenomics. It sucks. Situation is dire. It's because the Democrats are corrupt and all they do is care about gay people or whatever. Okay? Biden, on the other hand, whose administration has done relatively decent things on the management of workers' rights and things of that nature, and even like a decent, even has done a decent social democratic adjacent domestic policy with bills that pump some money back into manufacturing, for example, like the IRA, okay, in comparison to its contemporary counterparts, okay, is a very, very unpopular figure. Okay? Yeah, union busting, really great workers' policies. Chatter. I don't know how many times I have to remind people of this. I don't know where a lot of this information is coming from, but Joe Biden's NLRB is better than every other prior Democratic president since, like, I would say, since the beginning of NLRB in general. It is ridiculous. Not even fucking Carter. No, Carter is the start of, like, the evisceration. Carter is the start of the neoliberal evisceration of, it's not the beginning of the labor protections, but the acceleration, I would say. You're setting the bar on the ground, under the ground. Yes, I am, because when I put my electoralist hat on, I look at the situation and assess it not on simply what I think should be done, because I talk about that almost all the time, every single fucking day, but I talk about it from the perspective of, like, what the Democratic Party's performance is in comparison to prior Democratic Party presidents in at least recent history. Okay? Big Diesel says it's the best NLRB in the history of its existence. Chatters have no clue because, they have never probably ever worked in a union workspace. I've been a union steward for 10 years. Trust me, life was awful for workers under Trump. Exactly. So the real problem here is that it's obvious. It's obvious to me that right now, especially with, like, the gutting of civil liberties for Americans, and how, like, the Republican Party has to take ownership over that. And with, like, decent workplace protections being offered, and with, like, with a shit ton of money flowing into American manufacturing, could be better, but, pretty good in comparison to prior governments. The American population is not necessarily upset with the Democratic Party. Okay? They're not. That's why a Democrat, a faceless Democrat, performs 18 points better than Joe Biden. The problem is Joe Biden and Joe Biden alone. The problem isn't even the fucking Democratic Party right now. Because people look at him and go, dude, you're dying on camera. And that's impossible. That is impossible to avoid. It's harder to avoid than the top of the hour ad break. The reality is, every time you see him, he looks like shit. Every time you see him, he looks old as fuck. Now, the problem is the generic Democrat doesn't exist. As soon as you pick an actual Democrat, those numbers go down. Yes, I agree with that. American people have historically loved progressive, social democratic ballot measures, more popular than literally fucking a Democratic Party candidate or a Republican Party candidate consistently, no matter what deep red state you go to, and they fucking despise the Democratic Party's leadership or the members that they are presented with. And, they hate the Republican Party too, depending on which state you're going to. But overall, they love the policies. They hate the people associated with the policies. Okay? Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now. That's a policy that you would hate. Unless you were a subscriber, in which case you won't hate it because you won't see the ads. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. It's going to take years for people to forget that shit that used to cost like $5 in 2019 costs like $8 or $9. Wages have not increased that much. No amount of grass will make people ignore that. I think it's out of touch to suggest that the economy is doing okay. No, the economy is objectively doing okay in comparison to how it was in 2019. That's the problem. In 2019, the economy wasn't doing okay either. Hello? If you're comparing it to 2019 versus now, it's doing the same. The issue, however, is that in 2019, it wasn't good either. That's why you're a fucking leftist.
Damn, this guy's good.